What is going on out there, peeps? All right, let's get into the news a little bit about what's going on in Iraq. Not a whole lot, but I do want to bring something to your attention that I think is really interesting. Okay. A reminder, everybody, that if you're thinking about buying precious metals, give our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange a consideration. The link is in the description. If you are a first time buyer and you buy more than $100 worth of precious metals, use promo code Pimpy, Pimpy, and get a free half ounce of silver. As you guys know, I'm not on Facebook right now, um, and but you still can catch me over here on Twitter. Okay, so the links are in the description. Come join me over there. All right, not a whole lot in the news section. There is a couple things, but I do want to touch on something that's very interesting. So the official working hours is a holiday; it's been suspended, and the Parliament set the dates for the next session. So, in the passing the fiscal deficit law for the payments of salaries, a deputy determines a time period before the final vote in Parliament. Okay, so on Sunday, members of the House of Representatives Financial Committee set a period of time before the final vote on the fiscal deficit law to finance salaries and disperse them to employees known in the media as the borrowing law. The government requests 41 trillion dinars to finance the salaries for the remainder of 2020. And we find that the number is large and meeting will be held with the Minister of Finance to amend and reduce this. They talked about this before. And this is going on. It's pretty much the same. They're requesting a lot of money. Parliament, the government saying, well, wait a minute, we need to discuss why you need so much. Okay? So, again, not a whole lot going on. If anything changes, I will update you. I like the fact that this is just to prove a point. Look at this. Iraq is now 38th place among the countries. Iraq is in people who possess gold is what it is. So the World Gold Council announced on Saturday. This is a little bit older article, not too much, but anyways, it said that the central banks in countries possess 35,000 tons of gold, indicating that Iraq is ranked 38th amongst some countries that possess the most in these reserves. So, central banks, the World Gold Council is monitoring the central banks and the amount of gold it holds. So, 35,000 tons, no, not all 35,000 tons is in Iraq. They're saying between all the central banks. And central banks continue to accumulate gold. So there's definitely something coming up real quick here. So, but Iraq has 96.3 tons. All right. So this is good news because they have to make sure that their dinar is secured. Again, I can't help but feel my scenario about the role that Iraq and the dinar is going to play here in the future. Um, there's other things that indicate this again that, and I think that has a lot to do with the peace agreement. The peace agreement, I think you're going to see are amongst most of them are the oil-rich nations. Okay, so as they come into these agreements, I can't help but feel like they're positioning themselves for one reason or another to be fitting into my theory about the use of Iraq's dinar to play a key role in whatever coalition's coming up and whatever plan is for this new currency that I think is going to, or new currency basket that I think is coming out. So AlKhademi is over there hosting Russia at the moment, which is good. This is just more news and to show you just how busy AlKhademi has been. He's over there meeting now with Russia, not in Russia, they're in Iraq, and they want to strengthen their relations in business. Okay, of course, it's all in the same areas, you guys. You know this, and that's going to be the same with any country. I just love the fact that since AlKhademi has had his people put into place, and which is July this year, since July. See, he was put in office in May, but since July, when he was able to get his cabinet in there, We had August, September, and October is where we are. In 3 months, this man has met with several countries, signed several members of memorandums of understanding to do business. Each and every time something comes up that needs investigating and arrest, he's done it quickly. He has arrested several corrupt people. He has replaced a lot of senior individuals that were corrupt with a lot of new people. He is changing the way things are being handled. He is doing it from it being manual in some places, manually keeping track of things, now to digital. And this is going to help him in his government monitor things a lot quickly. We're seeing from time to time, you'll see new record amount of dues collected in ports. We see the borders being protected, ISIS being eliminated. So this is good. And when the United States had threatened to pull themselves out, the embassy out, immediately AlKhademi was snapped into, uh, work there. And next thing you know, he's making arrest after arrest of those individuals guilty for firing the rockets. But it wasn't just that. So he met with a lot of these calm clans, calm groups, calm, whatever you want to call them, these different tribes. He met with some of these leaders and said, look, for the betterment of the people, we can't keep doing this. And he went and met with Iran. And then the next thing you know, these armed groups all of a sudden wrote saying they would stop attacking the embassy. This is what we want to see. Peace in the Middle East. So is this possible? Is it possible to do? I also like that when the protesters were protesting, a lot of people were instigating clashes between the armed forces and the protesters. Not everybody did it, but there was some instigating, and the armed forces came right out and said, look, we don't mind the protesters, we get it, but what you don't want is this country to continue to be unstable. Do us a favor and just turn in those individuals who are guilty of instigating these clashes. That's what you want to see, cooperation between the armed forces, the security people, and your citizens. There's nothing wrong with protesting, but what you don't want to see them do is keep things unstable there. I can't help but see that there's a pattern, not just in Iraq, but in the United States as well as other countries where you have these rioters who continue to keep things unstable in these countries. It's all part of a bigger agenda, but that's the point is, sooner or later, you're going to have to put your foot down on these protesters. But anyways, I told you guys, I brought this up from time to time. I do have a couple where store in my town. There's a store there, and the owners of the store, they're Middle Eastern. One of them is from Yemen, and so when I go down there, I always, he sees me, he smiles, he knows I'm going to ask. I said to him, what do you think so far? How do you like the way things are going? And he says, again, when it comes to AlKhademi, he's trying to be optimistic. When I asked him about the peace agreements over in the Middle East, he just smirked, and I was like, why are you smirking? And he goes, it's one thing for them to sign an agreement. This has been done many a times. He goes, just let me kind of explain to you what you're dealing with, all right? I said, okay. He says, you are dealing with different religions. I go, yeah. He goes, different clans, different groups of people. You know what I mean? And so he said, you got to understand that some of these clans or tribes, some of them been fighting for decades. I said, okay. He goes, some of them for hundreds of years. And I go, wow. And he goes, some of them for thousands. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, so you have them all mixed together. The problem is, how do you solve the issues that they have when many of it is just based on religion? Some of the religions call for there to be conflict whenever an opposing belief doesn't agree with your beliefs. And he said, and so that's hard to do. So you can understand why this has been going on for a long time. He says, but it's impressive to see these people willing to go together. But he said, will it bring peace in the Middle East? We'll see. He said, but it'll definitely be a lot more stable. He said, basically, what those people really need are jobs. He says, if they're working, they're too busy to fight. And he started laughing. So I thought it was interesting. So, anyways, as I was reading through the news today, I found this article here, which is, again, almost the same as what my friend is saying here. Why not discuss the possibility that Iraq is a hopeless country, which is really just depressing, you know what I mean? But it goes on to say this: national aspiration and dreams need tools to achieve them. It is unfortunate that we in Iraq are accustomed to our inability to achieve our legitimate aspirations and constantly pay losses with very little benefit. And I thought to myself, wow, even with everything going on, and again, I don't live in Iraq, obviously, I've never been there. So, these people would know more about what's going on with their politics than most other people. And it says in there that in present day Iraq, there is no hope at home for change and reform at the hands of the people in the country that is already divided geographically. Okay? So, the state collapsed to the point of even the prime minister screaming in fear of Iranian militia snakes. He didn't scream in fear. He said his comment was, I like how he's changed this. His comment was, he dances with the snakes every day. Is what he said. He's screaming in fear. And people for 17 years have failed to organize themselves and produce honest national political elites that lead the opposition. And the people, parties, and politicians were practicing politicals in the manner of disgrace, mafia gangs, saboteurs, and agents. So they were. That's why there's hopes that AlKhademi is the real deal. I told you guys that my friend down there at the store from Yemen, when I said to him, what do you think of this guy when he first got into office, AlKhademi? He said that, it doesn't matter. He said they're all the same. He said, look, you'll find out. They always talk a good talk. And then once they've been in power for a little bit, that's when you'll see the true color show. And then they usually go right back to being the same corrupt people. And I said, oh, that's really sad to see. So I'm hoping for them over there. But his article goes on to say, look what's happening over here in Lebanon. For 70 years, they've been going through this crap back and forth. But if I remember correctly, when Gaddafi was in, right here, see, in Lebanon, the political devastation, sectarianism, and political process has continued since 70 years, led by politicians who are thieves and agents on demand. So what prevents the continuation of similar situations for Lebanon as in Iraq for the same period and perhaps more, especially the presence of oil wealth that tempts Iraq gangs of parties to cling to their continuation of corruption and thieves? Basically, what this article is saying, why should we feel that there's going to be hope when we keep putting in politicians who do everything they can to enrich themselves while keeping their people poor? Okay? So, I'm trying to be optimistic about what's going over there, but it's really sad when you see the people that come from these countries just saying it's just another day in paradise. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to change. Okay? But where my hope comes in is this man here. In case you missed this, because I'm finding out a lot of people were not even aware of this. Let's just watch a couple minutes. I'm not going to watch all of it, but pay attention to what just happened.
On the phone, we have some terrific people, Chairman Abdel Al-Burhan and Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok of Sudan, a beautiful part of the world, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I think you mostly know him. You perhaps heard of him somewhere. We have the very highly sophisticated press. I think they may have heard of him, of Israel. So I want to just congratulate all of you. The State of Israel and the Republic of Sudan have agreed to make peace. This is for many, many years. They've been at odds, to put it nicely. and to normalize their relations. This will be the third country where we're doing this, and we have many, many more coming. They're coming at us hot and heavy. In the coming weeks, they will meet to negotiate.
Now, I told you I knew about this long ago, and had permission from my friend to say this. Again, we talk about some things geopolitical that are, some things you can't have out. He can only tell me so much, but he doesn't tell me like any secrets or nothing like that. He just told me that they're in the midst of doing a peace agreement. I've been knowing this now for well over a year. I brought it up. I told you this was going to happen. I also told you there's like 7, 9 more countries that are going to agree to do this. And you ready for this? I can tell you this. Iran and Palestine and Saudi Arabia, it looks like they're going to come aboard as well, which would be big news. Now, the reason why that's big, if these nations can agree to get along, which is what we want, they have the ability to bring the most prosperous time in the Middle East for everybody if they could just get along, get away from the greed. See, usually what causes conflicts amongst government is greed over resources, all right? They like to act like they're doing it for some noble reason, but it very rarely ever is. Trump is not a war president, although he's a wartime president. But in his first term, he has not initiated a single war, and in fact, has brought our troops back and brokered peace agreements. He has already been, this year alone, nominated 4 times for the Nobel Peace Prize. He was also nominated in his second year. He didn't get that award. Obviously, they're not going to give it to him no matter how many times he's nominated. The powers that be that want to keep people in a constant state of chaos is not going to allow him to be recognized for peace. Anyways, I bring this up because I want to make a point about the Iraqi dinar. And that is this. Once these nations all sign these agreements, there's these new trade agreements that are coming, by the way, in which they can all do business with one another. This will bring a lot of business very quickly into Iraq, as well as surrounding nations there, but especially in Iraq. Iraq is the hub into the Middle East, all right? And so we know Saudi Arabia is going to be investing a lot of money. A lot of these other countries are going to be investing money into rebuilding Iraq. It's starting from scratch. This is going to bring a lot of jobs there. This is great news for both short-term and long-term, you guys, when it comes to the Iraqi dinar. Now, I noticed that there are people that are getting restless, and these people are the new people. What I mean by that is they haven't been holding the Iraqi dinar for about a year, and they're complaining already. And so, you guys, I tell you, there's people that's been in this game for 15, 16 years, all right? So you can't get frustrated. All you can do is keep an eye. There's been more positive news, in my opinion, in 2020 than we've seen in a long time that I could remember, as far as reading articles and listening to blogs about what's been going on. So stay positive. There are some other good news coming. I'm anticipating that's going to happen this week. I'm looking forward to this announcement. But as we get closer to election time, which is not that many days away, I'm hoping for a bigger announcement regarding gold and silver. And so hopefully that happens, because it does make a difference in the values of the currency, or I should say the support for the value of the currencies. All right, you guys, I don't want to keep rambling on and on. Sorry about that. But I just wanted to bring up to your attention, look, Trump is hope for a lot of people. I'll show you guys that in another video later. Trump is hope for a lot of people. If this guy could pull off what I think he's going to pull off, then we're going to see actual change. You're going to see Iraq get rebuilt. You're going to see prosperity brought to the people and peace in the Middle East. Okay? This is great for long-term and short-term investments. So just hang tight. Don't think negative. And for those of you who've only been in this for a year that are complaining, stop complaining. If you thought you're going to buy this and get rich by tomorrow, you're sadly mistaken. That's why you got to stop listening to these other people give you dates and rates. Okay? They always have been misleading people for a long time. That's why I don't do dates. That's why I don't do rates. That's why I say pay attention to the news. We don't care about what they say. We care about what they do. All right? That's it for now, you guys. If you're not a subscriber, please do so because when you do, helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. Thank you.